Actually, a little different angle. We have a little bit more of the windows behind me than normal, and of course, across from me here at the studio. Once again, 2 weeks in a row, we have Josh Kearney, your host and executive producer of the Get Real podcast, along with Cass. Cass doesn't have a name. She's the sheriff of Northern New York. Is that correct, Cass? Or should we say it that way?
I'm the what?
You don't have a last name. We just call you Cass.
Cass Louise or Cass
Louise.
L.
Yeah, but even that's not
I
your
don't
real
go by my last name.
Yeah, yeah.
I still never changed my
She's
married
like
name.
Madonna, Cher,
Most
Alf.
Polacks don't want to give up their
Anyway,
last name.
Alf. Anyway, Alf doesn't have a last name. All right, so Josh, we talked at length about many things. And again, having Cass here helps you to identify things. Cass also can be kind of your patient online, on camera here.
She's a great demo.
Yeah, she really is. So she's your demo. And what did we discuss last episode?
Well, last time, if you remember the last two episodes, we talked about the 6 steps you can follow into change. And today we're going to take a brief departure from actually talking about direct change and talk indirectly about how you can take advantage of shifting your perceptions by thinking of different ways and different representations of what's happening in front of you.
But and one thing I failed to mention, and I wanted to make it a surprise, is that we do have a very special person on the phone.
Who is it?
And that is Michelle is on the phone. That's Josh's wife. And Michelle,
Hi.
How you doing, Michelle?
You son of a bitch, you didn't take the trash out. Who is this son of a bitch?
So, Michelle, you heard the last episode. You've seen all the episodes. What are your thoughts? And, how is it living with a hypnotist? I got to ask you that.
Well, it is all it's cracked up to be and more, but man, I'm telling you, this guy just does not let you get away with any bullshit.
And how so? I mean, when you say that, kiddingly, of course, but what do you mean by that?
Let's see. How do I put this?
Quick interrupt
Well,
there.
yeah, uh-huh.
You have a great voice, by the way.
He knows a lot of the right and wrong answers when it comes to human behavior and all that stuff. So if I'm just venting about a fight that I've had with, say, some girlfriends, he'd be like, no, actually, here's what you need to do. And I'm like, but wait, you didn't listen.
That's right. But wait, you didn't listen. That's
wait, you
absolutely correct.
What does that mean?
On both sides of that.
In other words, she jumped to conclusions?
What it means is when people are as auditory as Michelle, and probably the only reason she tolerates me is the sound of my trained voice, she filters her information in through first what she hears, and then, everything changes from what she and how she reacts to what she hears and the sound of what's happening. So it's very important for people that react mainly to the way that they hear things to be heard.
Well, isn't it true though? I mean, you hear in comedians over the years, it's like their mom would be yelling for them to come into the house. Like Eddie Murphy talked about this, and none of the kids listened to their mom's voice, but it was the dad's voice that got through to them. So is it the masculine voice that gets through to us more often, Josh?
It gets through to these two.
Yeah. Well,
But not all of them. Some of them don't even care what you have to say or the sound of your voice at all. That's kind of rare, but it happens. Some people want to look at you more, and it's what they see on your face and the way that your facial gestures communicate a message as to how they're going to react.
Well, and luckily for us, Josh is very easy to look at.
Well, there you have it. I mean, he is Michael Douglas. He's got the hair going on.
I like being Joe Namath.
He's got the tattoo from the Marine days or whatever. I don't know what it seems like. Does that say?
It's going to be gone soon.
What does it say?
It says Weird Science.
Oh, Weird Science. Wow, what did you get that from the 80s? Were you a Michael Anthony Hall fan? Or what?
It's the best movie of all time.
Is it? Okay, Michelle, why is that his... We won't labor on this, but Michelle...
Oh, okay. Ask Michelle. She'll tell you.
Okay, why is Weird Science a B movie, if you will?
That is not a B movie.
It's not a B movie in a sense.
I have no idea
It's
what
a
we're
big
talking
production
about.
movie. Yeah, you weren't even born yet. Why is that his favorite movie?
Well, it seems to have all the perfect elements of storytelling, and if you watch it over again, right at the very beginning of the movie when they're describing like their fantasy of a party,
Yeah.
it actually all comes true. They describe the entire movie right in the opening scene.
Before they get their pants pulled down.
And that is who? Kelly LeBrock? Is that who's that? Who's the woman? It's Kelly LeBrock, who was later, if I'm not mistaken, was she not married to Steven Seagal?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Steven Seagal has been in the news lately for all the wrong reasons, for being a predator with a very well-known actress from that CBS movie.
Where did I miss this?
Yeah, you must have been. Well, you're not paying attention to this
Oh,
stuff.
I don't pay attention to what goes on in the world anymore.
Yeah,
so I have no idea.
but Steven Seagal is
Depressing.
an asshole. So anyway, we won't get into that. So okay, so Weird Science. I just one other thing. Anthony Michael Hall, is that the guy who's in it?
Yeah, he's in it.
There's a picture of him from 1987 with a young Uma Thurman with her arms on him and leaning against him, and he's got his arms over his. Never mind. It is a great picture because he really was the epitome of the geeky '80s kid. But you know what? He was a
He
good
didn't
guy.
make it into the Brat Pack, though.
He didn't for some reason. We did. He did.
Well, he's not exactly Rob Lowe
No, but he's a good-looking guy as an older guy.
or Emilio Estevez.
But no, he
He made it into Cobra Kai. He was in Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai,
Yeah.
and he had his own show called The Dead Zone for a while too. He looked good.
Bounced back. though.
But still, it's that picture of Uma Thurman leaning on him like that. It's a great picture. Anyway, Michelle, thanks for that answer, and also thank you for telling me that how it is to live with a hypnotist. Has it helped you in your life as a mother, as a wife, and in your day-to-day life, what you do at your job?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think that I would be doing what I'm doing now if I wasn't with Josh. I mean, it was something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to work in the natural health field, but the combination of learning from him and working with Scott really gave me the confidence to go after all that
Right.
and make it happen. So
That's awesome. So okay, so you needed to get an injection, if you will, of confidence. There's so many things that are holding us back. So that's what the Get Real podcast is all about, right, Josh?
That's right. Letting go of things that you perceive to be true, adjusting your perception, among other things that will allow you to actually build the future you want to build. The 6-step reframe is very important. And we did that the last 2 episodes.
Do people go by when your clients, is it frustrating for them to stay on track with the 6 steps or just the things that you tell them? Do they fall
Or
off the wagon,
remember-
or so to speak?
Everybody's going to go through frustration and elation. And the body will reward you for making positive change towards what's easier, right? So it releases those feel-good chemicals into your body whenever you do the right thing.
Endorphins make you happy.
And that's exactly why we did it the way we did it the last time.
Endorphins
That
make
feeling-
you happy. Is that
feeling-
what she just whispered? Endorphins
Yes.
make you happy.
with that feeling of peace that was overtaking the old problem. And remember, you're going to want to be in pursuit of that peace, and that will allow you to make better decisions. So that's right. It's all right. And you have the answers you need from within. You just need to wake them up. So everybody has an incredible amount of potential in them. And everybody is beholden to the easiest behavior and doing the best job they can without waking those special or those abilities up. Not necessarily special in a certain sense, but in another sense, they're very special. So one way we can do that is by adjusting how we perceive things in front of us, just for fun even, just to see how it works out. And you don't have to always be slower and be, locked into the way things feel. Or you don't always have to find that you're in tune with things that are happening around you, or even chase the images in your head. You don't need to do that either all the time if you could just bounce from one to the other. And you can allow yourself to do that, to see things in your head and see things visually and look straight up when you're feeling a certain way and watch as that feeling disappears, especially the feeling that was holding you back. And following pictures in your mind make you more visual, and you talk visually and you talk faster. And you can follow those pictures and paint great, huge pictures of your future and see into the future as to exactly what you want your life to be. And then when things ring true, when you know they're locking into place because they ring true and they're in tune with everything you want, and then drop down low to see that great feeling of how that feels. That's all. It's that simple. So
You really do have like this mesmerizing voice.
that's all I can.
The voice is
Very few
definitely helps.
talents, that happens to be one of them, so I thank you.
Well, let me ask you, and as far as what you do, voice and presentation is very important.
Right.
So if you have a stutter, let's face it, some people who unfortunately have some type of issues with their speaking voice. They don't have enough volume. They don't have that confidence. Eye contact is another big thing too, Josh.
Yeah?
It's really important. I notice a lot of people don't have confidence the moment they don't look you back in the eye. How do you correct that?
Well, it depends on if it needs to be corrected or not.
I think it's important.
Well, it's important by a case-by-case basis, but there's going to be other
Disingenuous when
things.
you're not looking at someone.
There's going to be other things that are more important. Sometimes and then you'll get to that eventually, or it'll just take care of itself once you let go of something that it was tied to. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's tough to make eye contact with the audience here because
Can't see them.
I can't see them, and I'm not supposed to look in the camera, even though I do a lot.
You never look at the camera. I don't understand what you're talking about.
I don't ever either.
Yeah, which is good because I rarely look. I'm looking at the camera right now, but to me, it's a fun. We're in a podcast studio. The conversation is here for the cameras to capture and the audio and so forth at the same time. Now, real quick, speaking of podcasts, last night it last night or 2 nights ago, one of the Paul brothers got his ass kicked by
Sunday night.
Sunday night
In an exhibition.
An exhibition. Was that real, Josh?
It was really an exhibition.
Well, I mean, did they really hit each other? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, definitely. It's just there's absolutely no chance in hell that he was actually going to do any damage unless, Floyd, I think Floyd let him hit him.
Yeah.
Let him himself get hit. So it looked like an actual show because with the skill involved and the amount of practice. Now, you can say what you want about Floyd Mayweather. He's almost borderline illiterate from what they say. I don't know this.
wow.
But the fact is the man is so practiced
So was
at
George
one
Foreman
craft.
back in the day. George
Yeah.
Foreman was illiterate for many years.
So Floyd is so practiced at one craft, and he's refined it to such an extent that, I mean, it would be damn near impossible to find somebody, even at him being 44, that could actually strike him in violence in real life.
So it was real. Okay, but at the end, Paul was saying, "I could do it." He's 6'7", by the way. He's he's
Totally
a
missed
big
that
guy,
point.
and he said, "I stood up to the best in the world." I said, "Well, in
He's
reality,
45 pounds heavier than Floyd Mayweather.
yeah." So it was a bunch of bullshit, basically.
It was an exhibition, yeah. I'm sure a lot of money. They made a lot of money.
It certainly did. I didn't see it. So
Floyd Mayweather made $100 million in that fight alone,
Wow.
and
That's
that's
nuts.
$10 million more than Michael Jordan made by NBA salary in his entire career.
Yeah, but he made more in endorsements. Did you know that Michael?
Dude, we're talking about a whole career versus
Well, I
the
know.
one night.
Hey, if we want to talk about that, that means the average baseball player that gets up to the plate makes more money in a day than Mickey Mantle did in an entire season, and that's disgusting in itself. But
Well, he would have
times
just
change.
drank it anyway.
Yeah, or get have sex underneath the bleachers, which is true during the national anthem, which is
Such an
actually,
okie.
which is actually
So
in his book.
affable.
But he was and he was very humble too, very very humble man. Not many left like him. DJ LeMahieu.
So
maybe.
what I want to also put into play here is that we're talking about seeing and hearing and feeling, but what doesn't count, what isn't applicable, and what won't work for you ever, or anything certain, is not always a great way to put it. But in very rare circumstances, would it ever work? Would be internal chatter, internal dialogue. So when you stay out of your own head and you're out here, that's where everything is happening. You want to stay out of questioning yourself or talking to yourself in your head, because people that continue to talk to themselves, they can go down the drain very, very quickly.
Yes.
And the worst part is when they talk to themselves and feel a certain way about it. Honey, are you still on the phone?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you know what I mean, because we all do it, right?
Absolutely.
When you come up with things in your head because you're not in
Worst
a
case scenario.
situation where you're connecting to other people,
right, sure.
I do it all. Well,
that's
used
where the
to. I
anxiety
try
comes
to
from.
not do it now, but
You every time you feel yourself do it, don't give yourself a hard time. Just stop it.
Stop what?
Talking to yourself in your head.
Oh,
Getting in
because
your
I talk
head
to
and-
myself out loud, and I blame it on Bluetooth.
Well, that's still it. So it's the same thing. So what happens is when you get in the loop between that and feeling, that's where all the naughty stuff, the nasty stuff happens. And that's what we have to pull apart 80% of the time, I'd say 85% of the time.
Wait a minute. That seems to be very important. You're saying the voices in our heads are disturbing our lives, and that we should shut that down? Explain
Right.
that.
You want to stay outside of your head as much as possible. You can go back in and check every once in a while, but for the most part,
Negativity.
that's not going to help you out any, or not nearly as much as it could if you were doing it a different way.
All right. Can I just offer a scenario that happened up here recently?
Sure.
A businessman took it upon himself to have vengeance against his partners that he used to work for.
Oh, wait, that was a while ago. I don't know.
Well, it
how
was
much
2
we should
months
talk
ago.
about.
But
Was it 2 months
Yeah,
ago?
it was April 20, whatever. It was late April. We were here. That's when I met Cass that day. So I'm just saying, did the voices in his head? I'm just using them as an example. It was a heinous thing. Don't get me wrong, but did he? I guess he should have shut down those voices. Is that correct, Josh?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate on that.
But
I
at
get
the
in a
end
lot
of
of
the day, maybe
trouble.
an extreme example. But okay, so you're saying that we should not listen to the voices in our head. But how do you shut that down? Is the question.
Well, you step outside of yourself and see what's happening around you. You see, feel, and hear what's happening outside of your mind and body. You focus on other people or the things you have to get done, the tasks you have to get done, and back and forth between people and tasks. And you'll notice
Easier
that,
said than done, though.
It's really not. You can do it. It's natural for you to do it that way. And all you have to do is explore it a little bit more every day. Sometimes people will fall right into it, and they'll catch themselves when they go back inside their own head. And that's where the anxiety happens.
Yep.
And that's where your mind is trying to steer you away from expecting or focusing on what you don't want to happen. So once you step outside yourself, then you can feel the way you want to feel by looking and planning ahead and plotting out exactly what happens next, both on the short term, medium term, and long term, the long game.
There's a saying for anxiety, and the center of anxiety is I.
I.
Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. That works.
It is.
So here's what I want to do.
Wait. Let me. The letter I is in the center of anxiety.
Meaning
That's
like you're-
fascinating.
Yeah, you do that.
So Cass and Michelle, if you'll both close your eyes for a second, and make sure that the
Michelle's
most
eyes
important
are
thing,
open.
the thing that's most important to the way you're filtering information right now is through what you hear. And notice how what you hear, it's easy to focus on singularly and just take in the feelings that happen because of it, but most important, the information and the step-by-step to just hearing things and have them tuning into what you're hearing. Good? Okay. Now go ahead and open your eyes. And everyone can play it along at home too. And go ahead and look straight. Keep your head where it is and look straight up with your eyeballs. And notice it's almost impossible to feel things. And what you're imagining in your mind is coinciding with what's going on with my voice. The pictures, seeing yourself in your best efforts, seeing yourself knowing you're moving forward and thinking things falling into place. Look way up here. You can see those pictures now. And then look down. And notice how instantly you're drenched in feeling. And the way that the sound of the voice you hear is making you feel. And then if you want to get out of that feeling, you just have to look straight up again. And remember, you have a say of what happens with your feelings and what happens next. And you can just play with that, of seeing things in your mind first, or hearing things and having them lead to the pictures, or even having those pictures lead to what you're feeling. And all the while staying out of the chatter in your head. Remember, the pictures that you come up with in your mind are going to be vastly more important than you trying to keep yourself safe from things going off the rails. That is the theme of today, and just giving people a little teaser, knowing you can play with that and have that affect you differently, and have things affect you differently by accessing your visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, or feelings. And that's what's important today and in the moment.
I almost fell asleep. That must happen all the time.
It happens sometimes, but only to old people.
Oh, thank you.
Just joking. It happens to young people too.
So I guess there's no anxiety in your household. Is that true? I mean,
No,
5 children?
no,
None whatsoever?
No, there's anxiety.
I'm being facetious, of
We
course.
have to juggle. So we just know how to step out of it. And we become better and better at it every day, despite what happens around you at the time.
All right, let me ask a personal question. Has the
Yes, it's really
aspect
that
of
big.
your thought, the aspect of what we're discussing right now, less arguments, does anyone storm out of the house? Does anyone slam a door? What's it like in the Kearney household?
You know, I got to be frank with you. Yes, less arguments,
Okay.
less conflict, and an easier way to find a center place, a center of what we're going at, where we're at, right? A medium. And understanding which direction we're both moving in separately and together.
Yes.
I would say, it's not,
And-
nothing's perfect, but we do have a good time.
Yeah.
Now, no, go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say, I think that we, I don't think that anything is like extremely unique about our situation. We face a lot of the same problems and disagreements that most married couples face. It's just the way that we are able to come back together and, agree to disagree and not, I don't know. I see so many people that just like seethe with resentment for years and years because they don't ever
Get
I don't know.
interrupted
It-
enough.
So, can other couples benefit from that? I mean, obviously, I know you're not authorized or instructed or whichever.
I work with
certified,
people
but
that are in couples.
You sound like you work with couples, and that sounds like would be very important. Again, my experience with Josh over the years was cigarette smoking, stop eating. We see them on commercials, TV all the time. But there's so much more important stuff out there. Is getting along with your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, which I don't give a crap who you're with. But if you don't get along, your life sucks.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't. And again,
agree
they,
wholeheartedly.
typically, the quarterback dates the cheerleader. They go to the prom together. They look great. They look like that's the quintessential couple that's supposed to have Hitler's babies. But that doesn't always work out that way. You got to get along is the most important thing in life. You have. It doesn't mean that you have to share the same values. It doesn't mean you have to share the same TV shows or politics.
Oh,
There
I would
is a
never
way of
be
getting.
But-
But
If
you
anyone-
can. You can still
no.
get along.
Politics, there's no way.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
It's been
No,
And I
proven.
do
no,
think
not
some of the
that's
same
happy. I've
values.
never seen people with very widely varying political
Yeah.
ideations that have gotten along.
James Carville and his wife, total opposite ends of the spectrum.
I don't know if they.
got
I,
along.
I would guess
Sounds
that
like
they're
a
probably not that
house
good as a
divided.
couple.
She has senility now. There's some issues with her, but that's neither here nor there. She's that
Raging
couple.
Cajun.
Yeah, and he's a nutcase, but they get along. And there's been others. The other crazy woman that worked for Trump there, and her fat husband. Their daughter went on American Idol there for a little bit. I'm forgetting her name. Anyway, it is possible, but at the end of the day, just because you look like Ken and Barbie doesn't necessarily mean you should be together. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And let's just admit this. If it's going to be a Ken and Barbie scenario here, well, we could look right now, of course, with the Ken and Barbie in front of us. But we also understand that Michelle, if she's not here, of course, is the Barbie of your relationship. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah, she's the looks of the relationship.
There you go. There you go.
I'm the gray hair of the relationship.
Yeah, you got a lot of gray hair. A lot of gray hair. So, Cass, what are your thoughts about all this?
Oh, I'm just listening. No, I mean, I don't really have
Does that sound like something that's attractive to you?
what.
Having that kind of situation with a guy? What we just described, what Glenn just described and Michelle just described, is that something that you can see or feel yourself doing? What would it be like if you did that?
Okay, did exactly what? I told you you're going to spell this one out. This next. I was listening.
I saw the look. I saw the look on this. I mean, I could see Cass going. More,
Put me on the spotlight.
More data. And
I mean-
okay. Sorry. What are we talking about?
Well, I don't really have a relationship right
Yes,
now.
you do.
I mean,
You have all your exes in Texas.
yeah, right.
Well, I would hope that you could have that.
Yeah,
I would hope that you could have.
I mean, I
even
am-
more so.
I am actually
You could
seeing
have
somebody
something
new,
more
so.
than a guy with a baseball cap that's backwards and all black, looking through the window at you and laughing.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Oh, jeez.
We can't see it on camera here, but apparently there's something behind
There's a
me.
gawker. So remember, take it upon yourself to change your perception of what's happening in front of you. Stay out
Yeah.
of your head. Focus on the things you want to have happen. When you have that ideal picture, not even ideal, the better picture in your mind, that will cause the feelings and the anxiety goes away. When you imagine doing it successfully.
I do have an answer for your question too.
Yeah. What answers that?
Well,
I was just-
wait, hold on. Yeah, I'm almost done.
Okay.
When you do have that perception of doing it correctly or what the outcome being good is in your mind, then you have a different feeling and the anxiety just disappears.
Well, honestly, since meeting you guys, like I had going through even just one session with you, like I feel. Oh, sorry. I feel so much better. Like I feel like I definitely have that confidence
Nice.
to. Like,
Yeah. Well, and we talked about your career and other things that you're doing that we don't have the liberty of talking about right now. But you were questioning yourself there because in the back of your mind or inside your head, like we've been talking,
I was questioning myself because
you were
my
questioning
ex.
yourself because of your ex, and now all of a sudden you've changed your mind because you realize your ex should be out of your friggin' head. Is that correct?
Yep,
So
he's
we're not
out.
defined by those choices that we make in relationships, right, Michelle?
Correct.
So the one thing that I've shared with Michelle is that, there is a neat connection between the four of us. We've worked together before. We've been on camera before. And one thing I've shared with Michelle about Cass is that she has an incredible amount of potential to get what she wants. And that's why it's easy to work with her. And plus, she's so self-expressive, just like you are, Michelle. Right? It's easy to know what's happening with somebody when they express themselves very clearly, and most pretty girls do. You would agree?
I definitely express myself.
You would
Oh,
agree?
yeah. In
Yeah.
so many ways.
So many.
So that's what I got.
Excellent. Michelle, first of all, thank you very much for joining in on Josh's show. By the way, the 12th episode of the Get Real podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
And this worked out very well. Good quality.
Yeah.
We're hooking you up, and you're obviously in Central New York as we speak, so we should do more of this.
I want her back in the studio.
And of course, and
doesn't?
Cass wants you back in the studio. And can I just ask something that you alluded to earlier? Is it true that Michelle might be doing her own show, Josh?
I think that depending on which direction she wants to go, I mean, she'll definitely have a show, but I think there's two different routes she can take, and that would be something she would want to discuss more.
Yeah, let me just, because on Facebook I finally hit. Look, we've had this podcast now for this is our fourth month, and all of a sudden I'm realizing I should be reaching out to people on Facebook. And sure enough, I put in podcast for beginners. Bang! There's like 16,000 of them. I mean, there's so many. I shouldn't say that's an exaggeration, but there are so many people at the level much lower than we are right here. So I'm not saying that we're bigger and better than they are, but we can offer a lot. We're doing this more and more. And obviously, not everyone's going to be in tune to what we're talking about here. Not everybody agrees with my friggin' politics. But at the end of the day, we're doing a lot more, switching back and forth, looking, talking, great quality, and so forth. So, Michelle, I applaud you with whatever you want to do. But we're ready for you. So, whenever you want to come on up, let's do it.
Yourself.
Well, yeah, I would love to get that started.
Then we're
You
going to
just
go to
gotta
lunch
find me a good
afterwards, you and
nanny.
I.
Yeah.
And drink margaritas till
Right.
6 p.m.
Yeah, and by the way, this time all the restaurants are open, I think, and yeah. So, and
Thank
maybe maybe I can join you as well because I had to do a spot that day. That was a Saturday when you were here, a long time ago. Oh, not really a long time ago, but nonetheless. So, Josh, that was your 12th episode. Is that correct?
That's us, the Get Real podcast, hosted by not by Josh, by the Get Real Podcast.
You worse than me.
You can't even talk.
It's the Get Real podcast, hosted by Glenn Curry.
It's like Joe Biden just came in the room. He doesn't know what day of the week it is.
Well, I guarantee
on,
that on our
man.
next podcast, we're going to I'm sure of
We have
as long as you don't fall asleep during it.
we have systemic racism. No, you don't. You stupid shit. All right, listen.
We're going to cut this out so I can say something like this. Poor kids have the right to education just like white kids do.
Yeah, I know. And they don't call it a gaffe. They say, "Oh no."
Oh,
And by the way,
he's
rarely
charming.
on live camera unless it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think I brought this all on us, actually, because I think Kamala Harris is incredibly attractive.
Did you see from 2000?
Don't I, Michelle? Don't I rave about it?
What he says
Yeah.
to you that Kamala is
Yeah.
hot.
I think that she should have to do all of her press conferences in a two-piece bathing suit
Did you see her
Oh,
with?
wait, are
and heels.
So, are we off the air?
No,
No, we're live on Glenn's, but this is going to go on our show.
Okay.
because
Go ahead, honey.
She had a double
well,
date
I was
with
gonna
another
say
woman.
what was holding me back from actually doing my own podcast, but
What's that?
it's most of what I do is looked on very, very poorly from mainstream medicine and probably get me thrown in jail.
So you won't get thrown in jail, honey. We'll just go over some of the do's and don'ts together, and we'll have a list, and you can just go down through that.
What they call it? Quack science or something?
It's a threat.
No, it's just-
we're going to leave it at that,
According to the law,
honey.
only FDA
Honey.
approved
Honey.
drugs are allowed to.
Honey,
What?
you got to be careful.
Gotcha. I understand. Okay, so we'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at that. All right, great.
So maybe you just have the girls on, and you shoot the shit about all the cool stuff that you guys do independently with the kids. And then you can kind of meander into the world, the wonderful world, the effective world of homeopathy.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, folks, this was episode number 12 for Get Real Podcast with, of course, Josh and our special guest today, Cass Luis. And not to, who could forget, of course, Michelle is on the phone calling from Central New York. Michelle, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Love you, babe.
Bye.
And
Love
we'll
you.
be talking to you soon. And Josh, thanks again for your 12th episode. How do you feel about it? What's going through your head right now? Good, bad, and different?
I have to get it up on the air.
There you go. Folks, number 12 is in the books, and we hope that you watch 13, 14, 15, and all the other ones that you may not have watched right here on whichever social media platform you happen to be on. From here, high above Public Square, the H2O Studios, number 12 in the books as well. Glenn Curry